Well, hello everybody. I'm just gonna give some time to get things for people getting everything to get started. What I'm planning on doing now actually is I'm going to be rolling up the stats for the 50 edition of Dinobot. Um, I'm going to do it differently than what I did for the 24 dice pool. I'm going to roll it 46 for each stat and drop the low. And I am going to select stats as I go, largely because I'm going to give you kind of a hidden glimpse into what I'm thinking. I'm probably going to go Eldritch Knight. So get him a little bit of magical ability to kind of go with his laser beams. So I guess I'll just go ahead and get to going with the roll. So. And I had a die roll off the desk. As you can see, this desk is kind of pitted a little bit, so okay. So dropping the low, which is a 2. 5, 4, 3. So that is a 12. 12. Where do I want that 12 to go? Actually, I'm going to take a look, go ahead, roll up my stats all at once and see what we get. Because obviously the strongest ones are going to go, the biggest ones are going to go into strength and probably intelligence. So I want at least a 13 strength and at least a 13 intelligence. 6, 5, 3, it's a 14. That's pretty good. I'm trying not to drop them way down onto the desk, because otherwise they'll scatter like they did earlier. 5, 5, 4. It's another 14. Yeah, I really don't want them to scatter when they hit the ground like they did earlier. I kind of want to randomize them in my hand and then just plop them down. Ooh, that's a 7. I think I know what stat that one's going into. I mean, it's Dinobot. Take a freaking guess. So I've got 4 out of 6 stats. All right, 8, 5, that's a 13. That's really good. I'm liking these stats so far. I've only got one that's like really, really terrible. Come on. 17 or 18. I want to see something good. I see something fantastic here. 6, 5, 11, and 13. So very balanced stats there, with the exception, of course, of the outlier 7. That, of course, is going to go straight into charisma. So, of course, the highest ones are going into strength, so 14 there, and intelligence for his Eldritch Knight casting ability. The 13s I'm going to put in Constitution and Dexterity. And of course that leaves the 12 for Wisdom. Sorry, I was trying to write while looking at this through my phone, because otherwise it's kind of awkward to have to, peer around. So, yeah, that is the dice rolls for Dinobot for the 50 edition. How this is going to end up playing out and how the character is going to end up being built, you will have to wait and see. That will be coming up later this week. I'll be taking these dice rolls, building up the character, shooting today, and then by Wednesday, or if I screw up like I did last week, Thursday, you will get the 5e version of Dinobot. So, until next time, I'm Jeremy. This has been Casual Mode on Periscope. Keep it casual, y'all.
Why are we here? Because we're here, roll the bones, roll the bones. Why does it happen? Because it happens, roll the bones, roll the bones.
Hello out there, casual fanatics. Jeremy here, and it is finally time for the 5e part of this Fun 5e Builds Compare Contrast special. I'm coming to you now with the 5e version of Dinobot. So I have completely built him out. In the cold open, you saw the saved version of the Periscope where I actually rolled the stats. So you got the stats part, and now you got the build part. So awesome, huh? So now I do have to make one little thing before this, kind of a little preparation thing. In 4E, you saw I gave Dinobot a background of samurai. That does not exist in 5E, at least not yet. So I made it myself. I kind of based it a little bit on the 4E with also my understanding of samurai and Bushido culture as much as it is. Stupid white boy. So if there are any inaccuracies, please feel free to tell me. I haven't officially released this or anything. This is really, for now, just for my own purposes. But if I do want to release it, say, under the new 5e OGL that came out, I do want to know. So the description for the samurai. Samurai are noble warriors dedicated to a specific lord or ideal. Their loyalty is usually unquestionable, though some find themselves more driven by their own principles or by money than by fealty. Still in combat, they pride themselves on showing their opponents respect and fighting with honor. They take no pleasure in an easy victory if it was gained by unscrupulous means. Their honor is their life. They would rather die than dishonor themselves. As such, even the wandering Ronin can be looked upon as icons or heroes. And if their principles lead them to victory after victory, some can become lords themselves, if not legends. Samurai, I kind of think of them being a little more lawful, of course. They can be of any religion. They don't have to be of any one religion in particular. But I do have something that kind of supplements that. And this is something that not any of the other backgrounds do. But I kind of wanted to put my little spin on. All the other backgrounds have skill proficiencies. I kind of wanted to do one skill proficiency to counterbalance some of the stuff that you'll see later for this. But I also wanted to add, a little bit of where exactly their loyalty lies for background purposes. So I have 5 principles here, and each one of them gives proficiency in a related skill. Fealty, duty to your lord, gives you history. Faith, duty to your god, gives you religion. Justice, gives you duty to society, to the law. Intimidation, to force your enemy to surrender or to subdue them if necessary. Freedom, duty to the people, gives you investigation, as people are more willing to come to you with information if they think you're working for their best interests. And the principle of peace, duty to end conflict. This gives you proficiency and persuasion, since you're probably more likely to use diplomacy than force. Languages, you'll get one additional language of your choice. Proficiency, you gain proficiency with martial weapons if your class is not already proficient in that. And equipment, I didn't really know how to go with this, so I just went simple. You get clothing that has the symbol of the Lord or organization or your faith, or your own symbol if you prefer to be a wandering warrior, a Ronin. And then a little extra gold on top of what you get for purchasing your equipment. And the feature and the bonds I'll get into a little bit later, because actually this is not accurate. I actually had to change it for Dinobot, but especially the characteristics I will come back to. So let's get into Dinobot himself. What makes this character very much like the abrasive velociraptor that we know and love? Well, first, he's a level 8 fighter, and I went with the Eldritch Knight archetype, as I mentioned earlier in the little Periscope part. The reason for that is I really wanted to kind of get his laser eye beams across, as well as his ability to use his sword. Race, Warforged, naturally. Excuse me. Alignment, again, naturally, lawful neutral. Now, if you look at Dinobot's stats here, there's a lot here that is really impressive. With all the racial and feat bonuses to his stats, he's got a fairly high strength. He's got a really high strength, 18, plus 4 modifier. Dexterity, Constitution, and Intelligence are all at 14 after mods, plus 2 modifier to each. Wisdom stays, as I put it, 12, plus 1. His Charisma did not stay as 7. The reason for that is that while he is abrasive, he can sometimes, occasionally, be persuasive enough to get his way. So he's an 8 with a mere -1 to Charisma. But he's still not very charismatic. His proficiency bonus is a +6 at this level. He's proficient with saves for strength, dexterity, and constitution. Intelligence is nothing to sneeze at, +2. Wisdom, +1. Charisma, of course, is weak point. Skills, of course, he's going to be strong in acrobatics and athletics, the strength and dexterity checks. I also gave him, he also has training in insight, because he does have the ability to be aware of what's going on. To that end, that's also why I went with the freedom principle to give him a bonus, to give him training for investigation. He's got a +8 investigation, because again, he's able to figure out what's going on and make decisions based on that. You see that in the show, where once he figures out what is going on with Megatron's plan and what he's trying to do, that's the moment he decides, no, fuck this, I'ma stop it. And of course, intimidation, because while he's not very charismatic, he is very intimidating. So, give him that. His passive perception is a nice little 17 there. Pretty good. As a fighter, he is proficient in all forms of armor and shields, and he is proficient with both simple and martial weapons, so he doesn't necessarily need that bonus from Samurai, but it certainly helps. Because he is a Samurai, he does get an additional language. Since he is a Velociraptor, I gave him Draconic. But I also figured, since the Predacons are kind of a lawful evil race, I'd give him an evil race's language as well. So in addition to Common and Draconic, he's fluent in Orc. Our total armor class. He is wearing plate armor.
to I know most of the Beast Wars characters look like they have very, very animal hide kind of armor, but let's face it, he's a fighter. He's going into the front. He's probably got some additional protection underneath, and of course, we see that in his robot mode. So, armor class 24. You could also say maybe that if you're trying to flavor this as the Transmetal 2, this is how tough that his Transmetal body is. Initiative +2, not the first into battle, but pretty quickly in. 30 speed, not slowed down any by the fact that he's wearing heavy armor. Maximum hit points 105, which is really damn good at level 8. So that means he's basically, not only is it hard to hit him, if you do hit him, you're going to have to hit really, really hard to beat him. And given the kind of abuse that he takes over the course of this series, and particularly in the episode Code of Hero, this definitely fits. So, before I get into the personality traits, I do want to get into some of the more mechanical attacks of him and some of the features. So let's hop over here on the right hand side and take a look at his feats. Because he's Warforged, he has a built-in bonus to AC, composite plating. He is a living construct, which means he's immune to disease, certain episodes of Beast Wars notwithstanding. He does not need to eat or drink, though he clearly enjoys to anyway. And instead of sleeping, he just goes into stasis for a while, which fits with all the Cybertronians. Again, I gave him a principle of freedom. Now here's where I'm getting into that other feat. And I'm going to hop back over to the other side. See, on this version, I thought there were some weapons in 4E, in 5E, and to be fair, I did create a custom weapon for this that I was going to have him use until I realized it would require him to not use a shield. I thought that there were some weapons that had expanded crit ranges. Most of them don't. So here I had as a bonus that you gain +1 to your crit threat range to turn like 19 to 20 crit threat weapons into an 18 to 20. Well, here's the finalized form of EI Jutsu, again derived from the 4E version. Years of training in the art of war have honed you into a finely tuned warrior. You prefer to take the fight to your enemy, and you are able to quickly recognize the flaws in their fighting style and exploit them. I misspelled that. I need to fix that. Whatever you roll initiative, move half your speed as a no action, means as soon as you roll initiative before anyone takes their turn, you are moving half your speed. So in this case, 15 feet for Dinobot. If you end this move adjacent to a foe, you gain +1 to your first attack against them. If your initiative is higher than all other enemies, which is tough to do with a +2 initiative, but not out of the realm of possibility, your critical threat range increases to 18 to 20. That is just flat. So if you do have a weapon that just has regular crit range, which is most of them, your crit threat range becomes 18 to 20. If for some reason weapons do come up that have a 19 to 20 crit threat range, it expands it out to 18 to 20. If your weapon already has 18 to 20, which I don't think any of the ones in 8 and 5E do, at least not as of yet, that part does nothing, and you may not want to use the samurai background. Defensive fighting style, an additional +1 to AC while wearing armor, that is factored in. Second win ability, use a bonus action to gain 1d10 plus 8 HP. Refresh that after a rest, so basically you can kind of gain a little extra hit points in the middle of battle to get yourself back into it. Took the Eldritch Knight martial archetype, so again he can cast spells, aka I-beams. You'll see that a little bit later when I go into the spells. and take an action surge, kind of akin to the action points of 4E. Weapon bond. His weapon cannot be disarmed from him. He can summon it as a bonus action, which basically is what he would do during his transformation. He does get 2 attacks, and whenever he casts a cantrip as an action, he can also make a bonus action to attack. So there you go. Oh, and the resilient, that's what gave him a little extra bonus to dexterity. So let me zoom in here so I can show you what all spells we got here. Well, first, the attacks. His basic longsword attack at a +10, d8 +4 slashing damage. Of course, he can attack twice per turn. Or he can cast a spell and then attack. So I'll just go into some of the spells. These 2 I largely took out of the main spell list, with the exception of Witch Bolt because of its additional effects. +8 to the rolls for attack. I believe the save is a 16. Of course, Witch Bolt, love that spell because it just hits once and it just keeps pummeling over and over again. Firebolt, just straight up one-shot damage. It hits, it burns. So let's look at the other spells here. Give me a second while I zoom in here. Zoom and scroll down. Alright. So his other spells that I gave him. Enhance ability. I kind of flavor this in this case as him kind of rerouting power from some systems to others to enhance various different abilities. Featherfall, I imagine, his shield is basically just parts of his tail that whip around like a helicopter. I have no idea why he never actually used that as a helicopter, at least not that I can remember, but this is what he would do if he were akin to do that. Use it basically to cast Featherfall. Jump, again, very agile. Target's jump distance triples until spell ends, so you can literally leap into action. Magic Missile can fire 3 glowing darts or 3 laser beams. Boom, boom, boom. D4 +1 force damage. Not very strong, but still pretty tough. Magic Weapon, of course, enhances his longsword strength that much more. True Strike. Gain advantage on the next attack. Love that spell. And then, of course, Witch Bolt hits initially for a lot of damage and then just keeps pounding until they're shut down. So, I love it. I love it. I really do. Alright. So, now let's take a look over. You see the bonds that I've got here. And I'm going to show you actually how I got to them. Because for the samurai backgrounds, I did create the various different personality traits and whatnot, akin to other archetypes. So, personality traits. I tried to pick like 1, maybe 2 for each of the principles and incorporate those in. So, D8, this one, first one, speaks very much to Dinobot. I crave combat, I'm the first to enter and the last to leave. Second one, a little more mercenarial. My ideals come first, but my services do not come cheap. So it's like, I'll work for money, but if you're doing something shady, I reserve the right to fuck off. Right. The third one, loyalty to friends. My comrades and I are inseparable. Definitely not Dinobot. Number 4, no lord or god is worth sacrificing that which I know to be right and good. Number 5, very mercenarial. Don't ask me who is right or who is wrong. Ask me who is the richest. And then number 6 for this, I will defend the people my Lord reigns over with my life and my blood. That's the more justice, or freedom related one. 7, very justice related. I am the law of the land, and my sword is the judge of all. And number 8, I prefer to be in charge of others and guide troops to victory. That's for the more ambitious kind of warlordy form of samurai, the one who wants to become a shogun. The other ideals, tradition. The first one, tradition. My lord's name and reputation must be maintained. That one's a little more lawful. Society, I will fight for my people no matter the cost. That one's a little more good. Respect, this one's very much more Dinobot. It's for any, but it works especially for lawful neutral, because Dinobot does want to build up his own name. He challenges both Megatron and Optimus Primal for leadership at one point or another, because he honestly feels like he deserves to be running the show. 4, power makes right. Power, might makes right, and I have the might. That one's probably going to be a little more lawful evil, though some lawful good, Knight Templar kind of characters might go that way as well. Money, very much a neutral. Pay me well, and I might be willing to die for you. Alright. And 6, justice. May my blade be used to punish the guilty. More lawful, but kind of more on the good side of lawful. The various different bonds. First one, my enemies seek to dishonor my lord's name. I cannot allow that. That one's not Dinobot. Only my blade and my comrades stand between our enemies and our people. Again, not really Dinobot. 3, the more mercenarial kind. I was hired to do a job, but when I succeeded, they reneged on the deal. Number 4, this one is definitely Dinobot if you watch Beast Wars. My previous lord tried to make me do something to violate my principles. Dinobot got in a scuffle with Megatron. He said, "Fuck you, I'm leaving." 5, there is a criminal on the loose and I have been charged with his capture. That one's actually a little more depth charged than Dinobot. 6, I do not desire war, and I will do all I can to prevent mass bloodshed. That's the more ideal of peace, or principle of peace. And finally, the flaws. No one can persuade me of my lord's faults. That falls under more the fealty. I have been exiled and dishonored for disobeying my superiors. That one goes more to either faith or your own personal principles. This is the one I created for Dinobot. The people I work with find me abrasive and untrustworthy. Chop a face. Stinking pred. I don't do nearly as good of a rat trap as I do a Dinobot, I'm sorry. Number 4, I've done some terrible things for people with a lot of money to spend. Again, for the mercenaries. 5, attempting to talk my way out of a volatile situation left me with a scar that won't heal. The more peace side. The more just side is sometimes I wonder if the law of the land is truly just. So, there you go. I am thinking about releasing the Samurai one as OGL. Obviously, there are some things I'm going to have to fix in order to do that. But I kind of wanted to show that off in addition to showing Dinobot, because really the two kind of go together. So you have Dinobot and you have the new Samurai background. Tell me what you think about both of them. If you like the Samurai background, feel free to tell me. I'll see what I can. I tried to create it in accordance with the OGL, so if I want to, I can release it as an actual product. But until that's let me know what you think about this build of Dinobot, how it compares to the 4E version, and what you think of the samurai background. Comments below, casualmodepodcast@gmail.com, the Facebook, my Twitter page, all the wonderful places. So, until next time, I'm Jeremy. This has been Fun 5e Builds. Keep it casual, y'all, and roll responsibly.